Hi, trainers. It's Angie Charlebois coming to you from my home office in Haines Junction, Yukon. Actually, I should make sure my mic is on. Yes, it is. Okay. So, thanks for joining me. There's a chance that people will pop on the call as we go. So, I'll just say hello as they do, and then we'll carry on. So, I wanted to do some training around a couple of areas that I know are blocks or fears or things that are getting in the way for some of you. So I'm going to go through some of the topics that came up when I posed the question in our group. And I'll also just touch on other things that I know for a fact get in the way. And I know this as a previous mastermind leader with Gretchen Hoshaw and also just as a coach. So we'll just get into some of those common things. And before we fully dive in, I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Angie Charlebois. I am a certified professional coach. I am also a Havening Techniques practitioner and a trainer with Infinite Possibilities. And I'm a facilitator and an instructor in various programs. So I wanted to reach out. Some of the experience I have with Infinite Possibilities dates back to 2013 when I got certified in Seattle. I then presented at the first conference, like training conference, where there was like the trailblazer breakout groups. It was the first time that we did that. And I led a process called the focus wheel. And I did that. And actually Tracy Farquhar was my guest, like she was my case study. And that was really fun. And since then I've spoken at several of the other conferences and I've taught on the topic of elevator pitching. And one of them was like, hacking your blocks and fears so that you can be a trainer, like a better trainer and show up more in your work and in your coaching. So following all of that, what I've been noticing and why I wanted to pop on here is that a lot of trainers who've been certified haven't made it to trailblazer status. Like they haven't, and this might be you. So it means that you haven't taught at least 6 people for at least 6 hours on the content. And there could be a number of reasons getting in the way, from your schedule to your belief in yourself to not understanding who to reach out to, or even just feeling really comfortable with the material. So I'm going to try my best in as short a period as I can to get through some of those major concerns and get you going. And again, you can always reach out personally, or you can send me a PM, or you can post something and tag me and I'll answer as much as I can. Some of the experience I bring to this is that I have trained a lot of people. I've run a lot of programs, Infinite Possibilities, as well as others that are kind of similar content from a coaching background and wellness. But also Gretchen and I used to host the Trailblazer Mastermind, which was sort of a paid program. Trainers could join and then work through like modules, and that we would help them get past some of their blocks and fears and technical challenges or content challenges and create a program and then offer it. So I'm going to bring some of that into it as well, because I have some experience hearing directly from trainers with some of the kind of challenges, I guess. All right. So now that we've got all that out of the way, I'm going to start with this. Sometimes what I've noticed, and it happened for myself as well, and I'm going to tell you how I got around it. Sometimes what we do, even though there's fantastic foundational content being delivered at the Train the Trainer conference, what we get into is feeling like we need to go after like a group of people who really, really need us, who need us to like save them, or who are like the big kind of dream client or group that we would love to make a difference with. Now, that is a fantastic thing. That is a wonderful goal. And for a lot of people, that really works well. But what might be going on, if that is where you're at, is you may or may not know how to get through the doorway. It might seem like a really big obstacle to get into these organizations that really, quote unquote, need you. And you might not have any direct connection or link. Now, if you do have a direct connection or link, exploit those relationships and in a good way, but exploit those relationships and really get in the door through your personal connections and your relationships in those organizations. Absolutely go that route. And if you have that route to go through, you've probably already done that and you've gotten an answer one way or another. And keep trying and keep working it and really come from a place of service and openness, as opposed to needing to save anybody. That evangelical stuff often doesn't come with a very good energy, comes with this desperation or superiority or some kind of odd sort of sensation that people perceive and don't feel comfortable with. So if you don't have those avenues though, and you've always wanted to, really help people, and you don't have a direct connection with, you may be coming up against some blocks. And what I want to talk to you about with this is, as a new trainer, that may be somewhere you want to move to, like, for example, going to some other country and helping impoverished people and really bringing infinite possibilities to them, or going and delivering it to, homeless shelters, or, victims of domestic violence, or whatever it is, whatever the main area that you want to focus on, that is kind of like the dream area outside of your reach right now, might be too big as a new trainer. So you might not have enough of the actual confidence and self-trust and proven methodologies to deliver this content, to go after a group that is outside of your kind of sphere of influence and your understanding. So what I want to propose is this, and it's something that I really struggled with. I paid for tons of programming to grow my business, to like show up better as a coach, to be kind of a better entrepreneur, and be more of a leader, I guess, in my industry. And so many people told me this, and I did not listen until fairly recently. Actually, Regina told me this too, and I didn't listen to her either. So, I wasted a lot of time. So here's the nugget. Your ideal customer avatar, like your ideal person that you should be working with, especially when you're new, is someone who is like an earlier version of who you are, like someone who's a few steps kind of earlier on the trail than you've made it to, or a 5 year before you now. Like, so you picture yourself, really describe yourself 5 years ago. What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? What were you struggling with? What were some of the beliefs you hadn't yet shifted? Where were you at in your work life, or your personal life, or your emotional growth, or any of that personal development stuff? Where were you at before infinite possibilities, like before you did the training, before you took a class, before all of that? Really sit down, and I want you to describe who you were at that time. And so you're going to really write it down. I'm not saying this. This is actually an exercise that's going to make a really big difference. I want you to describe yourself previously, or someone who is kind of like you, who's still there. What are they regularly thinking about themselves and about their life and about the hope for the future? What do they feel every day when they wake up? What do they feel after a rough day? What do they feel on their best day? But also, where are their pain points? What are the things that they're struggling with? You're going to try to get as detailed about that as you can. What are some of the challenges they have in moving forward with some of their goals, some of their dreams, any kind of big visions for the future? Where are they stuck? What are their problems? What are the logistics? What are the, circumstantial, emotional, all that stuff? Where do they spend their Sunday mornings? Where do they spend their Monday nights? What type of person are they? Where are they on social media? Are they Instagram? Are they Facebook? Where are they at? The reason you're bothering to do this, and the reason you take the time to really flesh out your ideal customer avatar, is because when you're communicating, either in marketing or creating your program, like writing down exactly, how you're going to frame this, what you're going to do, the exercises, the examples, the stories, when you're building this thing that you're going to present, I want you to imagine yourself talking to that one person. First of all, it's a really, really smart and well-used and well-practiced, effective, tested, tried and true marketing kind of strategy is you pick one person and you talk to that one person. And lots of people talk about it. Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, Regina, a lot of people talk about choosing a niche, choosing your ideal client avatar, and really getting clear on who that person is and what they need from you, connecting to them emotionally. So everything you do related to that person obviously goes to more than one person, but you picture yourself communicating to that one person, and it can be the previous version of you, or some other niche that you're already very, very familiar with and comfortable with, and that you feel aligned with. Now, of course, you're not going through any sort of exclusionary practice where if someone responds to your offer or your ad or your invitation to participate, you're not excluding them if they don't fit into the exact profile that you created. You're not doing that. But by creating that profile very specifically, you are extremely relatable. You're going to write in a way that I'm communicating to you, like I know exactly who I'm talking to right now. I know exactly what is going on for you. And that means that hopefully, if I'm doing my job really well, you feel like I get you and you feel like I'm talking to you. All of your marketing, all of your planning, all of your course creation, all of your examples and stories, ideally, are going to feel like that for the one person you're talking to. And that one person, of course, is maybe a multiple of like 10 or 15 or 25 or 50, depending on how big your audience is and how big your reach is. But the point is, each one of those people is going to feel that personal connection, and ideally is going to be seeing themselves in your messaging, is going to know that you're talking to them. And what that means as far as like registration rates and trust and feeling like they have a like, that like, no, trust, no, like, trust factor, they're going to really already have that with you by the time they show up, by the time they click pay, by the time they give you their contact information or subscribe, or however you're doing the technical setup for this, for your program. But any kind of work you do, your customer has to know that you're talking to them, that you get them, and that you can provide a solution. Because they're not only investing money in you, they're investing their time and they're investing their hope. And those two things are commodities that are hard to replenish when people are at certain places in their lives. So that piece of it is so incredibly important. And I don't know for sure that you've heard it before, depending on what kind of work you do, but hearing it now from me after wasting a lot of time with my belief that I could help anyone. And of course I probably can. I'm not meant to help everyone, but I can help anyone if they show up. But anyone isn't going to know that I'm talking to them if I'm not really clear. So conversational language, very specific. You need to come to this class if you are experiencing problems with or struggles in or feelings of blah, blah, blah. I know where you're at. I've overcome. I share my blah, blah in the 7-step process that will create insert solutions or insert outcomes next. You're going to create messages like that. Not academic, not super high level, out of reach, airy-fairy, flaky sounding. What am I going to get out of this? Why am I spending $195 on this one day of whatever it is? If you know who you're talking to, you're going to use the language that they use. If you know who you're talking to, you are going to be able to state their problems in your copy, in your sales copy, in your letter, in your Facebook post, in your invitation, however you do it. That is going to make all the difference. They are going to immediately trust you. Okay. So I think I've said this as much as I possibly can, but it's really, really clear that you do the activity of writing down the characteristics, the emotional space, all that stuff that I laid out for identifying and profiling and really, really defining who your ideal customer avatar is. And as a new or inexperienced trainer, choose people you really understand and know. So it's an early version of you, or it's people that you already know, like friends, people in your community who get you and who you get. And you can make it really niche. So one of my clients recently I was talking to about how to find their niche. And often it's people who are already our acquaintances in our field of work, in our other work, and we can tailor our messaging to fit into a challenge that they're having. It's actually infinite possibilities training specific to their particular work with their clients already or their field. And so you could do infinite possibilities for biologists in the field, and you tailor your stories, especially if you're a biologist, to those kinds of circumstances that they're likely to connect with, to those examples that would resonate with them. So you're looking for alignment and really that sense that you get them and you can take them to where they need to go. So you state where they are and then you state where you're going to take them. That's really, really important in marketing language. Okay. So that's the first part, is choose who you're going to work with. The next part of it, in really getting ready, getting comfortable, setting yourself up for hosting your first IP class is, once you're clear, set a date. Get really, really, really clear on when you're going to do this and where, and ideally for whom, because we've already covered that, and set the date now. So whenever that is, give yourself like 5 weeks. You don't need much more. Pick the date, pick the location, choose a place you know you really love and you'd feel comfortable in. And you're going to choose people that you already feel comfortable with, who you know. And what you're going to do is move backwards from there. So if it's Saturday, May 15th, I'm not even sure if that's a Saturday, but whatever you're choosing, when it's that date and you have the location and you pick it and you book it and you commit, you're going to work backwards from there. So from there, I want you to think, how many weeks notice do I have to give these people? Work backwards from there. More than 3 weeks isn't necessary, to be honest. Like people, especially for something like this, months and months and months of notice, especially if they don't have to travel, is not necessary, and it will often stand in the way. So pick a date where you're going to begin advertising. So 3 weeks out, before then, you're going to start advertising. You can write the ad now. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to deliver day one or hour one, but you can write the ad, and I want you to make it very focused on where they're at with their problems and what you're going to offer as deliverables. They don't need a huge story about how you came to it at this point and all of the extra pieces and validation. You could borrow a good testimonial from one of the IP participants. Maybe you can ask on the page, on the group, if anybody has a testimonial from someone who's gone through the program, even if it's not with you. What are some of the outcomes that you could share on this poster? And then what are the 3 main things your offering is going to alleviate? And problems, and what are the 3 main outcomes they're going to get from following the program with you? So there's a couple of different ways to run the program. It can be a day long with a little evening intro the night before, meet and greet, social, kind of icebreaker, and then a full day Saturday. So you do Friday evening, Saturday. You can do all day Saturday, which is hard if you're going to cram every aspect of infinite possibilities into one day. You do have to be pretty nimble with the content. Otherwise it's a really long day. Or you can do 4 evenings. What I've done before, sorry, I'm a little uncomfortable here. What I've done before is I've done 4 Monday evenings, and it was, I think, 2.5 hours each. And I've also done 6, and it's been, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hours each. And to be honest, I prefer the 4. I was able to combine some of the exercises to create multiple, results and outcomes in one activity, which I will share with you. And also for me, I was driving in and out of a city an hour and a half away, back and forth. 4 was fantastic. So it's up to you how you want to structure it. Just choose. Just pick. It doesn't matter. You will do great no matter what. So just choose, set the date, set the location and the format, and write your ad. You don't have to release the ad yet, but get it down. It will create a fire under you that will absolutely get you sparked. So the next part that I want to talk to you about, which is connected to the who, but also connected, more fully with the how you lay out your program. So this next section is about my methodology for creating the actual content. I love to create workshops. I love to create curriculum and find the best ways to effectively and fun, methods for getting the information across to people. So what I do, and you don't have to do it this way, but what I do is I break it into like quadrants. So there's a little bit of a format, you've got like 1 to 7 of infinite possibilities, like content, right? Like where the sections are broken out. I look at each one of those and I think, okay, in every room that I'm in, I'm going to have people who are more analytical, people who are more like emotive and learn by, connecting and feeling stories and the narrative. There are going to be people who are auditory visual or auditory digital, where they're like really, listening for, concrete steps, and they like it super step by step. There are people who are visual, and there are people who are kinesthetic. So knowing that there's like these different learning styles in any group, and that there's within each of us these different learning styles as well. So in some ways, so if you're learning a sport, you might learn a sport in one way, but you might learn math in a different way. So I try to create an opportunity for every learning style within the individual and every learning style of person within the group. To me, that's not super complicated because I just lay it out in a grid, or I lay it out in a bit of a table format. And I think, okay, what's the visual related to this one part of IP? What's the kinesthetic? Like, what can I have them do that's related to learning what I want them to learn around this IP concept? And before I start, I guess I should mention that I create for myself, to stay oriented, the learning objectives I want, ideally, if I do my job well, for each section of the IP content. So let's say it's for beliefs. What do I want them to get out of that section? So by the time we're done this part, what do I want them to know or understand or be able to integrate into their lives moving forward? So I just pick 3, and they can be fairly small. So for beliefs, I want them to know that beliefs are not permanent, that they're movable. I want them to know that beliefs are sometimes hidden, though, and really hard to spot. And sometimes they only come out in like adversity, or when we have something like big we're going after, which can be perceived as a threat to our, sense of safety, emotional safety, or like blending in, being included, all that kind of stuff, like the keeping us part of the herd, like from a reptilian brain place. And then, so I want them to know that some of those are hidden and they might come up and they're self-protective, but also limiting. So the first one was they're movable. The next one is they can be invisible and limiting. And the third one is I want them to experience a shift in them through the process. So I have methods to do that, like to shift beliefs. You probably do too. There's examples in the workbook if you choose to use the workbook. And there's also maybe examples that you just have in storytelling, or other, whatever else you do, like maybe you're a coach or maybe you're a healer in some way. And maybe there's stuff that you can do, like even body-based, body language stuff or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter what your methodology is. My methodology is based on, hacking into the brain's, wiring, like psychosensory, and I use havening techniques. But before I had havening techniques, I used other activities to get people to shift a little bit, to explore letting go of those beliefs. But I was really clear when I started the session, the 3 outcomes, what I wanted to achieve in that. And as I was planning the workshop, I would have those 3 written down, and then I would break it down. What would that be like to be a visual learner in this part of the session? What would some of the things that I would do or demonstrate, or videos or images, or the visual aspect? What am I going to write on a flip chart, or what am I going to show on a slide that is going to appeal to the visual person? How will I integrate that into the auditory digital, into the storytelling, learning by stories, learning by examples, hearing person? What are some of the bold, simple, font and messaging that I'm going to use? Because slides need to be, if you're using them, or handouts need to be very effective. And by effective, they need to be usable quickly. So that means not long paragraphs. You're not going to put every point you want to make on the slide. You're going to be as sort of efficient and economical with words. So you're going to use just bold, quick statements that can be understood, not just at the cognitive level, but almost at the primal brain level. So simpler the better. So I would, break all that down. What do they need to have written down? What do they need to hear? What do they need to see? What do they need to do? So every section that I teach has a doing component. Sometimes it's sitting and doing and writing. Sometimes it's standing and role playing doing. So it's up to you. You can choose whatever it is you want to do. But what I found the most effective is breaking it down. And I know it sounds excessively complicated, but it's not. Because as soon as you do it that way, you don't need to go into a lot of big, wide breadth of content. You go 3 main things that you want them to get out of it. And you just really dig into those things using all of the senses. It's a really powerful experience, and it engages everybody. And if you create opportunities for them to connect with each other and share, so not sharing the problems, but more sharing their learning or sharing their aha or however you want to do it, there's a lot of um, formation of, transformational learning, integrative learning, and it can be fairly quick. So I'll give you an example of one of the activities that I do. And the handout is like the paper is in the file section, but I can email it to you if you reach out to me. I'll actually send it. So you can just like private message me and say, hey, I want that, that handout you were talking about. So I call it do I call it the dreams and beliefs inventory? Something like that. It might be a little different. Anyway, I can't remember what I call the file right now, but basically what I have them do is, so we already talked about how beliefs, kind of are like almost like the invisible rule book that allow our thinking and our feeling and our dreaming and our, goal setting, all that stuff. It's like the frame. It's like the box that we're living in, and it has boundaries and, sort of like these glass walls we don't always see, but we don't allow ourselves to stretch out of there often because we have these beliefs. People are unsafe, or I'll never achieve, or only rich people get ahead, or whatever it is. Money's hard to come by. Success will cost your family. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what they are at this point, but people have them. And they were put in place often really, really early as a mechanism to keep them safe, emotionally safe. So blending in to their family, belonging, sense of inclusion, all that kind of stuff. So they exist for a very primal purpose, and they're useful, except now that people are grown-ups or further down the road, they're not necessarily something that is currently useful and aligned with some of their bigger goals or, desires. So what I do is, sorry, I'm jumping all over today. What I do is I have this sheet, which I'll send you. And on one side, it's like these little prompts, and it'll be like, I've always wanted to blank. So I've always wanted to travel to Asia, or I've always wanted to spend, a month in an ashram learning meditation. But, and then the second half of the page is the but I've never had the money. I've never thought I could do it. I've always been afraid of failing, or whatever it is. So on one side, it's like all these prompts, sentence starters, like Mad Libs, fill in the blanks. I've always wanted, my biggest dream is to, I'm trying to think of the other ones, but it's sentence starters like that, where they state their goals and dreams, or their desires, or their, ambitions, whatever it is. But the other side is, don't have money, blah, blah, blah. Only smart people can do that. I was told I was not good enough. I feel this, I feel that, I have this, I have that. So all of the limitations. So as I go through that example, it doesn't feel that good, but what it does is it gives them permission to state their goals, because it gives them an out right away. As soon as they put it down, they can be like, yeah, but I can't. Whereas in coaching, what's really, amateur coaches will do this all the time, or people who aren't actually trained as professional coaches, they'll say, what's your greatest dream? What's your biggest dream? What's your biggest goal? And when you say that, it is like telling somebody, what is the biggest fear you have that I could use against you if ever our relationship soured? To the reptilian brain, people sharing their biggest goal, their biggest dream, their biggest, most vulnerable, like wide open, naked, like big thing that they don't yet have, is akin to sharing their absolute most vulnerable, like fear. It's the same chemical response in the amygdala. We fire right up, our limbic system goes like, so we shouldn't ask that, because it backs people up. But if you get them to write it down and they already have the out, which is like, but I can't afford it, but it's not possible for me, but I was told this or that, they're more willing to. I don't know why, but it's like, it gives them the out, and it's already like, yeah, but I have a free pass and I can't, but I don't have to. So you get those dreams down, you get those blocks down. What's really handy about doing it together is it connects kind of two parts of infinite possibilities, because it's stating what their invisible limiting blocks and beliefs are on one side, and it's getting them to tap into their dreams, desires, and goals. So that's really useful. It also gets them connected to how they're feeling about that, because once you get them to do that, you have a little bit of a discussion, not where you ask them to share their goals and dreams, because you don't know that they're going to be comfortable doing that, but where you get them to say, okay, how does it feel when you were writing that down? And people might not be comfortable saying that. So be prepared with a list of very common emotions that people have when they've like listed their big goals and dreams, and when they've like kind of limited or lifted out of or, explored and, written out their limitations. So they might be like, it's kind of exciting, but I also feel really limited in some way. Or it kind of felt like a little bit scary and a little bit like sort of like depressing because I know that I'll never get it. So it's okay that they say some of the things that aren't necessarily positive. That's okay. I know we don't love doing that, and a lot of people resist doing that. But when they do that and you say to them, okay, so the next part of this is I want you to see if there's any common threads. So you've all shared a little bit about how they felt. Do you notice that a lot of you have similar experiences or similar emotional responses to this? And as they hear each other talk about what it feels like to share some of these, to write down some of these goals or some of these blocks, you're going to get common patterns. And some of the common patterns that have shown up in my groups, but also that show up in almost every single trauma or block clearing session I do with people using like my healing method. Well, it's not mine, but it's the healing method that I'm certified in and that I include in all the training and coaching I do now. It's called Havening Techniques. Is that there's this underlying core like family of like messaging that come from like fear-based place. But basically it's, I'm not good enough, which some of you mentioned, like, who am I to be doing this? So I'm not good enough shows up for a lot of people around a lot of things. And it's a safety mechanism. Like if you don't dare try something that's outside of your comfort zone, that's outside of your like absolute mastery, you're not going to risk very much. You're not going to be laughed at or excluded or ridiculed or shunned or, all that stuff that as primal fear-based kind of thinkers in one part of our brain, we can avoid a lot of risk and potential, harm if we don't venture too far. So when we're talking about how they're feeling about those things, their common threads are like some of the most basic human emotions, which is I'm not good enough and I'm afraid to fail and I'm ashamed of a mistake I made before and I feel limited by that. Or I was told that, I'm not enough in some way. So it's not just not good enough, but it's almost like unworthy and kind of unimportant. So people have these, sadly, these common threads of what they feel. And so once they hear others expressing that a little bit, there's less isolation. And being isolated is one of the most, rejected, isolated, left behind, all those things like in a tribal sense is really alarming. We do not want to be left alone in a jungle or alone on the plains, like while the rest of the tribe, moves ahead. So the fact that they have it as a common fear or a common state, all of a sudden removes that, like, I'm alone. It's like, well, you're not alone. This is a common human thing. Like it is, we're not alone in that we all face this fear. And being a little bit courageous and standing out a little bit and sharing that now all of a sudden created this like, unity among them or this, sense of community. Even though it's a sense of community around this feeling of limitation, they've just proven to themselves that they're not alone. So the next thing we do is I'm kind of giving you a lesson plan here on this one particular area to demonstrate all the different learning ways to address the learning styles. But the next thing you can do is you get people to pair up and to go through each of those limitations one by one. So let's say it's, I'll never have enough money. I've always wanted to go to Malaysia and do this thing, but I'll never have enough money. So you get them to look at the I'll never have enough money, which is written down, and in pairs. So now they're like learning by doing, auditory, visual, all the learning styles connected right here. They're going to analyze if that statement that they've made on that right-hand column is 100% true for 100% of the time for them, like 100% of their life, like forever more. Will they absolutely 100% never have enough money no matter what? Well, there aren't that many things that are 100% true 100% of the time, in 100% of the circumstances, in 100% of the, all of that stuff. So one by one, with another person witnessing and helping and supporting, and you're going to help facilitate that, they're going to go through and they're going to see that it's true. They can poke some holes in these beliefs that they were sure were, steadfast and permanent. So they're going to, bust some holes through that. They might even take it a step further, which is, where and how and when might this be true? So you could help them facilitate like that conversation. So if you're never going to have enough money to go to Malaysia to do this thing, like rescue orphans, do whatever it was that you wrote on your list, and you can debunk it a little bit in groups, in pairs, then what if you could facilitate that conversation about when could it be true? Well, if I won the lottery, it could be true that I would have enough money and I could go do this thing I want. Okay, great. So there's at least one example of when it could be true. You could go further and say, okay, what's another possibility of a second potential? You don't have to figure out all the hows, but what's another possibility of when it could be a little bit true? They might say, well, if I retired and I got this and that and all these circumstances, okay, great. So now you've just poked holes in this absolute belief and you've created an alternative potential belief, right? It could sometimes maybe be true that I would have enough money to do the thing I want. So you're just trying to eat away, break apart a little bit of that foundation with reasoning, with, just exploration, with outside of your head onto paper, in a safe, in a safe relationship, go through some of those and just see if they're shiftable a little bit. So that's all you're trying to do. So now you've done, dreams and desires on one side and beliefs on the other. You've taught them how to poke a little bit of, some holes and look for some loopholes in their steadfast beliefs. And now they've connected with someone. They're feeling a little better because after you've done this exercise, which doesn't take very long, you get them back together and you say, okay, how have your emotions shifted around this? So at the very beginning, they're maybe feeling kind of crappy. All of a sudden, they get these things down. They feel sort of hopeless, possibly. They go into a group, they poke some holes, they go through the exercise, and now it's starting to shift a little. Are they possibly feeling a little different? So now all of a sudden you've tapped into the emotion component about IP, and emotionally things have shifted. So now you've just touched on like 3 main points of IP in this one exercise using all the learning styles. Now, the next way you might actually take that and build on that is you might say, okay, so now what are your thoughts about your desires, your goals, your dreams? Like, what are some thoughts that you now have around those things now that you know that your beliefs around these are shiftable? What are some useful thoughts? What are some helpful thoughts? What are some more positive thoughts you could have around some of your goals? And they might want to share those because now that they've gone this far, they're feeling a lot safer. Their inner caveman has kind of been like appeased and shut up a little bit. They might be willing to share. Well, now when I look at it now and I have these extra little notes on my sheet, I kind of feel like maybe it could be possible. Great. Maybe it could be possible to go to Malaysia to do this thing is way the heck better than where they started out at. And so you can ask them, what could be an empowering belief, an empowering thought, an empowering emotion you could begin every day with around one of these goals or dreams that you have? What's a way that you could continue to shift this? What's a way that you could continue to strengthen your positive, helpful, empowering thoughts about this? And get your subconscious working on your behalf, looking for opportunities, collaborating with the universe to bring it to you, like opening your eyes to things that were technically impossible before and also invisible. Because the thing about having these beliefs that operate in the background is that we have this, I'm going to get the name wrong right now, but it's a part of the brain. Sorry, hang on here. Oh, shoot. I'll think of it. Darn. Anyway, sorry. There's a part of the brain that is designed to only show you, it's an efficiency system. Like we have to filter. Like our brain uses a lot of calories, and all of the neural processes that we do, if they weren't automated for the most part, would exhaust us. Like all of the thinking we'd have to do to reinterpret and reanalyze and redecide every single time if something is good, bad, dangerous, leads to survival or not, all the stuff. If we didn't automate a lot of that, we wouldn't have time at all. We wouldn't have energy, calories, anything to carry. One of the automations that we have is filtering out information that doesn't align with what we already believe. I almost had the term, sorry. And it is like this bias almost, but it's a different word. Activating system. Oh, anyway. And so basically it creates this blindness, this like sort of avoidance and non-recognition of any opportunities, any competing thoughts, any other viewpoints, any possibilities or evidence or supporting facts that are outside of our purview, outside of our beliefs about a certain thing. So for example, if you believe that pit bulls are the most aggressive breed of dog on the planet and that they're very, very dangerous, and you really feel passionate about this, and possibly that passion comes from a personal experience, maybe a vicarious trauma where you've observed something or you've seen something that's left like kind of an imprint on your survival brain, on your fear-based brain about this, or you've experienced a dog attack in some way or something, like you have a really legitimate, hardwired in belief about this. When you see an example on Facebook, a little meme or a little story or a little anything from a rescue group or anything at all that is not aligned with your belief that pit bulls are the most dangerous animal or dog on the planet and should be exterminated, whatever your belief is around that, like whatever your active campaign is on that. When you see anything other than that, you won't give it any validation. You'll right away be able to pinpoint how there's, some, untruth about this or some, bias that doesn't account for all of the statistical information, or you'll be blind to it. Those things won't even show up. Like you won't even see them. You will glance over them. They will not register. They will not make an imprint because they're not aligned with your core belief. Now, conversely, everything that is aligned with your core belief will show up more vividly, more prominently, more commonly. You will really notice, and you will build in your brain, in your way of perceiving the information, more and more and more evidence and facts that support your belief. It works with racism. It works with, success theories. It works with problem employees. It works with teachers in classrooms when there's so many studies done that when teachers are told something about a particular student in advance, they will almost exclusively notice that particular trait about that student. And they've even done studies where they've fooled people, where they've said, this student is particularly gifted, and it wasn't true. And sure enough, the teacher is recognizing this giftedness in this student, or they've been told that a certain student is difficult in a certain way. And sure enough, all of the reporting on that student's behavior shows up with all of that. And some of that stuff has been manipulated data just to demonstrate how these biases, these belief biases, influence our observations, the evidence gathering we do. And we just strengthen and strengthen and strengthen what we already believe and become invisible, like not even recognizing things that are opposite to that. So it's fascinating. The brain is incredibly, incredibly complex and skilled at automating as much as possible, which means that if we want it to notice different things that are aligned with what we really want, we have to do the work to break down some of those kind of structures and limitations, and we have to allow it and kind of task it to look for things aligned with what we want. So building on what I was already saying, one of the things that is really useful, instead of saying affirmations and trying to create these thoughts that might come up against like a block in our subconscious, in our belief system, what we can do instead is say something like, I'm starting to notice, so if it was my belief about dogs, which it's not, but if it was my belief about pit bulls and I wanted to change that, I'm starting to notice now that the information about pit bulls is also positive. So instead of having an affirmation, which is like, I now trust pit bulls, whatever it is, I can say, I'm starting to notice that there's information that proves pit bulls are kind or can be kind or whatever it is. So you want to reduce that static, that friction, that whatever it is. And so you're going to, ideally, in your IP training, program to teach people how to do, like how to build affirmations, how to build new thought blocks, how to build new beliefs that don't bump up against something that is a firmly held, like the wall of like the caveman's sort of wall. You want to do something that like slips through the door and is okay for their inner caveman, which is like the survival-based belief holder and like kind of enforcer. So something that is like, I'm willing to see, I'm open to seeing, I'm giving myself, permission to, I'm beginning to, I'm becoming more, all of those things that are a little safer for our inner belief system, which is, firm and, strong. You want to find ways that are gently in and build beliefs through affirmations that are not going to create this like strong, forceful response. Damn that, no way, blah, 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 like bull crap. You're going to find ways to do it in a more gentle way so you don't have that heavy defense mechanism come up and like bash it. So some of the examples I just stated, I'm becoming more open to pit bulls being kind. I'm beginning to see evidence that not all pit bulls are dangerous. I'm willing to look for information that shows the kindness of these dogs. I'm willing to feel a little safer as I, find new information. I'm willing, I'm becoming, I'm beginning, I'm, all those softening starts to affirmations and new thoughts. So you're going to help them build affirmations that are safe and aligned with where they want to be, with what they want to be believing, with where they want to go with their goals and dreams, with appeasing some of those underlying beliefs that you noticed about safety, belonging, like those core primal drivers, not looking like a fool, not losing social status, not seeming naive or like a dreamer or flaky, not, making themselves vulnerable or, sometimes it's just fear. So you don't want to go too hard directly at fear because all of the defenses are going to kick up and are going to dismiss anything that is too challenging of those things. So I think I've kind of said as much as I can around this. I'll demonstrate havening techniques in a minute because some of you talked about this feeling of who am I to deliver. So I'll demonstrate what I do around using havening techniques around these beliefs, around some of these encoded responses, like thought responses and beliefs that people have. It's my method that is, kind of a result of, training I've done to help people who have blocks, trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, phobias, fears, vicarious trauma, all those things. And also it's a really powerful coaching technique because big goals and dreams, as I said, also align with some of those like huge risks, psychological risks. And it's the same part of the brain. So I'll show you that in a sec. So I just want to recap. So we've talked about who, how to find who, how to communicate with who, how to pick one who, so that when you're talking, you seem very approachable. Focusing on the like, no, or the like, no trust factor. And people feel that more when they know that you're talking to them, that one them person. So finding that person among, your circle, people you're already connected to, people in your industry or your field, people who you already have a really good understanding of because you get their problems and you get where their desired outcomes might be, shedding stress, uncovering their, potential more, going after whatever it is. You're going to know that group really well. If you need help with that, just reach out and we can do sort of a one-on-one quick session identifying what the unique opportunities might be with your type of person. Not the type of person that needs your saving, who is somewhere in the world that you don't really know. Your type of person who is very close to you. That is a fantastic place to begin training. Then we talked about how to build sessions, how to create the content that works for you with the stories that are unique and connected to your particular group. And you're going to be able to relate to them really well. You're going to understand them. You're going to attract them. You're going to charge them. I didn't talk about that yet, but you need to charge money. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that, right now, and I'll tell you what. So I've been a certified professional coach for a really long, well, it feels like a really long time, like coming on 10 years. And before getting really clear about who I was meant to serve and what my real sort of, audience / ideal customer avatar, whatever you want to call it, was, I was trying to talk to everybody. So my messaging was really off, because I'll tell you what, if I'm trying to do coaching for top executive in an engineering kind of industry, or I'm trying to talk to like a single mom, newly divorced, who needs to rebuild her life, coaching can help both of those. Coaching is an extremely, like, professional coaching, which is like strong, like, guidelines, ethical guidelines, process guidelines that really helps people tap into their particular personal power, opportunities, possibilities, personal strength and presence, and all that stuff. That marketing, that connecting dialogue at the very beginning before we begin is going to be very, very different, because what the CEO executive of a very technical organization is going to connect to when I market or reach out is going to be very different than somebody who's rebuilding their life after a divorce. The process, once we're inside, is very individually driven. So the process might not even look that different, but how they come in through my door is going to be. So when we're really clear about who we're talking to and we're really focused, they're going to recognize themselves in us. And here's the piece about charging. When we set a clear intention to support people and help them, there is already, the work already begins. There's an energetic exchange already, like at a high level, like soul to soul or spirit to spirit or higher self to higher self, like however that part works. And it's worked like crazy numbers of time. I don't know the science around how that all works, but it does. So when you set your intention to work with certain people, certain types of people who you can make a difference for, and you're really clear about that, you've already invested energy. If you do not charge them money, there is this like disconnect between the energy exchange. And what that can cause, well, there's a couple damaging things that it can cause. One is it causes an inequity, like a lack of equilibrium or a lack of equity in the distribution. And that can do a couple of things. One is it can create this like power differential that's not healthy or safe for them. They're going to feel it. Like if you're doing it for free, they're not sure where they stand in this, and they are not really sure where that, like how it balances out, and that doesn't feel safe. Even though I know that you can argue with me until as long as you like about that, it's proven out for me lots of times. Like there's a superiority thing where I'm showing up and saving you and helping you, and you can't pay in some way, and it's yucky. The next part of it is it really sends a message to the universe that you don't value yourself. Like if you're not charging, you don't value yourself. So who the heck is going to invest their time, their like personal stuff, like their vulnerability with you? Like there's this weird, like, why would they give to you when you're not even asking for it? Like it's this weird dynamic around like energy, universal energy. If you're not worth it, why is anybody showing up? Is it even going to be worth it? So they're not going to invest their time. Their time is their most valuable resource. Why would they invest it when you're not even asking for anything in return? The other aspect is this whole like psychology of pricing, this pricing psychology. If you don't charge, or you don't charge enough, you're basically sending this message to the consumer, i.e. your student, that it's not really worth it. It's not a good product if you're not charging enough. So I had more people register when I charged $3.95 than when I charged $1.95. And when I did it for whatever you can pay or free, I didn't get a very high quality person. Either they didn't commit and show up to every session. And with coaching this work too, like when I do pro bono, oh my gosh, for the most part, I don't know what my stats are exactly, but it's somewhere around 50% of the pro bono offers I've put out there, like individuals who've been like, oh my God, I'm blah, 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 really struggling. Oh, I don't have the money for help, but do you think you could help me? For the most part, those people have only shown up 50% of the time for the first session. They've not continued. They've not had change, like transformation in their lives. Like they've just not invested. They've not shown up. Even in my trauma clinic, like my Havening Techniques clinics, The people who've done pro bono, maybe 50%, but probably not either. So it's not just the coaching where it's like a more prolonged process. It's even the one-off havening. I've had people like call me who've needed desperate help. I'm like, okay, I will drive to Whitehorse tomorrow from my town and meet you. And they've not shown up. And when I'm like, hey, I'm here. So I've already invested an hour and a half driving, the gas, the time, the whatever, away from my family. They don't show up. I'm like, hey, so you really needed me. You called me yesterday. I'm here for your session. Oh yeah, I got drunk and I'm not. Can you come to my house? Well, I don't go to people's houses when they're drunk. So no, I can't come to your house. Can you make it to the session? No. Okay. I've been burned so many times, not because people don't actually want the help. They do, but they have no skin in the game. And that no skin in the game creates this like lack of investment. And when there's no investment monetarily, there's no investment energy, there's no even getting out of bed, showing up, bothering. And that I like, please don't do this. I did it way too much. It is so not worth it. You cannot save people who aren't even showing up. Like, A, it's not your job. B, it's not appropriate. C, it's this weird power differential that's gross. And it's telling the universe that you don't value your time, that you shouldn't make any money, or that working in a healing, helping field isn't worthwhile. And F that, it is worthwhile. It's really important. It's important work you're going to do. You need to price it appropriately. And by the way, here's a really good comparison. Somebody who had a massive heart attack, who goes into an OR, surgeon is there, nurses, all the like support staff, the anesthesiologist, all those people are making whatever it is in America. In Canada, it's a lot. So each procedure they're doing is whatever number of dollars. That whole life-saving experience of having, you know, like the open heart surgery to save them, which I believe in, like I believe we should do that. So I'm not saying it's not worthwhile. I'm saying there it is. It's worthwhile. If you asked that guy who survived or that woman who survived what it was worth to them, if they had to pay to do that, they would say, I would have paid anything. I'm so grateful. Okay. If you ask all of their family members around them waiting in the, you know, waiting room while they undergo this like life-saving procedure, if you said to each one of them, what is it worth it to you to save your dad that you love, or save your mom that you love, or save the person you love, they would say, it's worth any, like I would pay anything for this. Like it is so worth it. Okay. What we do when we truly transform people's lives and we show them the power of their thoughts and the possibilities that exist for them when they go beyond the limitations that have been put on them in for whatever circumstances in whatever scenarios in their lives, and we show them that they can live, like truly live the life that they want, i.e. survive, be saved, open heart surgery, like get a fresh start, a brand new, limitless, if they choose that, possibility to their lives. When we truly show them infinite possibilities for their lives from this point forward, why the hell do we think that they won't pay whatever you want to charge? $3.95, $5.95, $9.95. I don't care what you charge. You charge whatever you need to. That person would have paid like hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a chance at a full life, like after this like major physical thing. Why wouldn't they pay at least, I don't know, half of their like annual cell phone bill or cell phone charges to have this opportunity to see themselves in a new light, to experience themselves in a new light, to make life-changing friendships in this room with people that they truly, you know, have this connection with, and this trust and this, you know, deep, you know, vulnerable sharing experience that's really positive. Why the heck wouldn't they pay? Of course they'll pay. So if you're not charging, that's about you. It's not about your client. I had to be told this so many times by so many different business coaches and personal coaches about my work. And like the last thing I'll say really to hammer this home to you, well, yeah, I'll only share this one thing. I could share like forever. But this one example was this. I was doing some writing work for a client, and it was like short notice work, really important to this client. And this client already knew that I did really good work for them, already knew that I could write like them, sound like them, and totally like connect. And it's one of my superpowers is I can almost do like channeled writing for people, but make them sound almost like the best version of themselves, not by kind of exploiting all their, you know, ego stuff, but by connecting to their true essence and sharing that in a really clear way without the caveman stuff showing up in the weird get in your own way kind of crap, because it's not my crap, so it doesn't show up. Okay, so I was doing this kind of work for a client, and it was very like last minute, hey, I have to get this proposal in. It's a really big opportunity. Can you do it? And I said, sure. And they said, well, what do you charge? And I said, well, you're a friend, so I can give you like a friend deal, like a discount on my hourly rate. Like, what about $55 an hour? And so this person, and it's a different currency, like they're in another country. So $55 Canadian, like my usual rate is like back then was, I don't know if it was like 95 or whatever it was, but it was last minute. I had to wipe my schedule clear. I had to like clean, like reschedule everybody to clear the day for this person. And so this client's response was, I don't know what that, like, no, what did they say? Something like, I don't know what like $55 an hour even means. Like, don't nickel and dime me, just give me a total. Okay. How I interpreted that was that they couldn't afford my services, or that they didn't think I was worth it. And I started going into this whole like, oh, like I'm not worth it. They can't pay or whatever. I just got into this whole like weird spiral of like this money stuff. And I was like, just pay me what you think. And it doesn't really matter. And I just really want to help you. And all this like low vibrational thinking, lack-based, like low vibrational thinking. And this client, thankfully, is a really like powerful coach and like strong person, was like, what the hell? What are you doing? I'm telling you, don't nickel and dime me means I don't know how fast you are. I don't know how long it's going to take you to do this thing, because I've never done this thing I'm asking you to do. I don't know what it's going to cost me. All I'm asking is like, what's your final number? If you can make one up, even if you charge me like $3,000, I just want to know what that number is. When you tell me an hourly rate, I have no idea what that means, because I'm not a professional writer. I don't know how long it takes. I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? Don't nickel and dime me just only meant, I want to know a total, not all these other things about my personal worthiness and my professional abilities and my skill and whether or not they valued my time and all that crap I had like built around from my own money stuff and my own beliefs about my worth and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff was all mine. So if you're not charging, that is your stuff. Don't put this limitation that they can't pay, they can't afford it, they're not blah, 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 they can't. Don't put all of that stuff on them. They're perfectly able, competent, powerful people who may have access to money that you don't even know about. It's none of your business. Charge, choose a price that feels good for you. Not that you think they can afford, but a price that feels good for you. And you will attract the people who need to be in the room with you, with the investment they've made, because if they've invested, they will show up. And there's a lot of coaches and transformational healers who will say, the more they invest, the more they get out of the session. I believe that to a point. Like I haven't upped my prices to this like, really, really high levels that some of my colleagues have. I probably could, and I just haven't, and I probably need to work on that. But I want you to know that that is a common formula in like transformational work. The more they invest, the more they will give of themselves, the more they will show up, the more they will really believe that this work is going to be transformational, that they will do the necessary steps, that they will take the action, that they will, dedicate the energy, the commitment, the time, the discipline to doing it. So it's up to you whether you believe that or not. That is a choice that you have. But please, for the love of God, charge something and make it a number that you know is going to demonstrate the value. You are giving them another chance at life the way doctors have. And those people probably got paid whatever they needed to keep them in the field, doing very, very well financially to do that work. It is life-changing work. So is the work you're doing. And when people are asked when they've had a second chance at life, what they would give for it, they often will say anything. I would have given anything for that. So there you go. Okay. Next piece here. I hope I've alleviated your sort of like who, how, where, what, how do I make the material work? The last piece I wanted to connect to on that about, making the workshop content work for you is people are going to take infinite possibilities from you for a reason. So they're going to feel connected to you in some way. They're going to feel like you get them, which means, like Mike says in the training, you do have some autonomy, some flexibility, some freedom with the content. So, there's a couple of rules, and Gretchen and I went over this a lot when we taught the mastermind program and we help people. There's some rules like you can't claim the material is yours if it's not. Obviously, it's, for the most part, like what you're going to be conveying is Mike's material. Sure, no one needs to appropriate that. That belongs to Mike. Great. We're given full permission to modify as needed within that kind of framework and context to meet the needs of the particular people that we are meant to train and coach and help. So in that line, I want to tell you, for me, using the entire workbook with people did not feel aligned with my particular style. That's not to say I never gave out workbooks. I have. That's not to say that I've never used some examples from the workbook and referenced it and made photocopies and there's a little footer at the bottom. And of course you can, do what you need to achieve your learning objectives for your group and to connect with them wherever they're at, whatever style they're at. And there are some groups, depending on who you're leading, where that kind of like rigid, strict kind of a format isn't going to work as well, which means that if you want to lead infinite possibilities, less from an instructor perspective and more from a coaching perspective or a facilitation perspective, or even a mastermind perspective where you're like the leader of the mastermind and you're going through this stuff, absolutely do whatever format works for you. And the best way to know what format is going to work for you is to look at what you love and like. Because if you teach in a way that is your kind of, not teach, but if you deliver in some way, if you host in the way that resonates the most with you, with your personal style, you're going to come across as more competent because you're going to be comfortable. And you're not going to have to learn a new delivery style as well as delivering material that you may or may not be as comfortable with. So all the different ways that you can, get yourself like hack into your comfort zone as you're doing something uncomfortable is going to make a really big difference. So everything from, who you're working with, the setting you're choosing, the format you're choosing, the way that you're, choosing how to highlight certain aspects of the material, the stories you're sharing and conveying, the ways that you're dedicating time so that that they can share with each other and possibly, have them co-facilitate in their small groups where you're helping them, create these, learning opportunities with each other. The more that you can do those things, the less pressure you're going to have on yourself. So that particular part, when you're choosing what to do, remember that you do have absolute full choice in all those ways that I've listed. And the more that you can choose in ways that align with what you're already comfortable with, the better you're going to be at this. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody expects perfect, but they do want to feel safe. And they do want to be in a, setting or in a room with somebody who is doing the best they can to create this sense of we're all learning together. And this can be an opportunity for discovery, not just for being downloaded all this content in a way that it's got to be perfect, but in a discovery setting, in an opportunity for learning and growing together, that can feel really, really fun and creative and adventurous, as opposed to the sterile, all the pressures on the instructor. You have to get it right. You have to understand it all. You have to be able to explain it all at every possible level. You don't need to do that. You are not a university professor unless you are. And if that's your style, then go for it. But if it's not your style, I don't know that people even want that. Every course that I've taken has had this really kind of positive, easy, simplest, most, self-empowering, and also you can't make mistakes here kind of approach. If you cut yourself all of that slack and create that opportunity for your group, then it is going to be a really, I think, fun and easy environment to be in. And that's going to make it feel a lot safer for you. And if you are nervous, that's okay. Everybody has a little bit of that at some point. But the more that you can eliminate the stressors and the opportunities for it to feel really foreign and hard for you, the better. So here's the last piece that I want to leave you with. And hopefully, like if you have other questions after you watch this, you'll reach out. But here's the last piece I want to leave you with. You can hack your reptilian brain. You can hack your inner caveman, which is designed to keep you safe and small and invisible and blending in and all the stuff that goes against being a trainer, being standing out, being a leader, all those things. So if you want to hack that limitation part of you, like that like stay safe, stay small part, here's what you're going to do. I'm going to lead you through a very short self-havening process. So we're going to hack into that part. We're going to use delta brainwaves. We're going to use touch to do it. It's a powerful healing modality. It's backed by neuroscience. Go ahead and research it, havening.org, or look up videos or whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. It's the technique that I use with my coaching clients, with my trauma survivors, and it's basically what I do for a living almost all the time. I do it with entrepreneurs because even big goals in business trigger that kind of response, that fear-based, like, no, don't do that. And it's a very clever response because it comes out as logic and it comes out as reasons and rational and, all of that. And so the caveman has progressed in his communication style, but the primal fears are still the same. So when some of you said, who am I to do this? That to me sounds like, fear-based, like, I'm not good enough. I'm not ready enough. Who's going to listen to me anyway? And what if I screw this up? I might fail, all that stuff. And if I fail, I might get rejected. So I'm going to start from that place. And excuse me, I'm just going to have a quick drink. It's a very powerful shifting process. So I want you to tap in before we begin here. I want you to tap into that feeling of, who am I to do this? I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. I'm not ready enough. I'm not even worth listening to. Like, I am so far from perfect. Like, I'm a total, hack at this. There's no way I can do this and create change for people. It's a pretty shitty feeling, part of my language, but go ahead and tap into it for a second here. Just feel it all. You might feel it in your chest, even as I say it, because I still bump into this stuff in some of the work that I do, and I have to hack this too. I can feel it in my chest. It feels like tightness. What does it feel like for you? Feel it. And I want you to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being totally neutral, gone. 10 being like highly, highly uncomfortable, unbearable, painful, overwhelming, whatever that is. On a scale of 0 to 10, what are you feeling when you let yourself have that sensation? Any number is fine. Go ahead and rate it. Keep track of that number for now. Write it down if you have to. Maybe it's a 7, maybe it's a 5, could be a 10, depending on what you've endured in your past and what lessons you've learned about stepping forward, standing out, being seen, being a leader, being bold, whatever that is for you. Write your number down. Now I want you to begin touching your hands like this. I want you to take a deep breath with me. Good. Get comfortable. Close your eyes if you like. Another deep breath. Now I want you to say, who am I to do this? 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 Say it over and over again. And you're going to say it with me or say it separately out loud until it starts to feel a little less true or a little less intense. Who am I to do this? 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 Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Good. So the next thing that you might notice is that you're actually feeling uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to step out. It's uncomfortable to take a chance. So just tap in. Actually, slow your hands down a little bit. I just realized I'm going a little too fast too. Slow down and tap into that sense of being uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, 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 uncomfortable. It's true. It's a little bit uncomfortable to do something new. Totally. I get it. Uncomfortable and scared, 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 scared. Feels too vulnerable. Vulnerable, 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 vulnerable. You can move your hands to your shoulders. Here, just stroking down. Feels vulnerable, 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 and risky, 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 risky. It's risky to do this. Risky. Feels risky. Risky. Because you feel unsure. You're unsure of yourself. That's okay. Unsure. 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 That's okay. Just say it till it starts to shift a little bit. And as it shifts, something else might open up. And I'm still feeling the tension, like the tightness in my chest. If you are too, take a deep breath. Say tight. Maybe it's somewhere else in your body, but you're holding on to a tightness, tightness, tight, 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 tight. Breathe it in, tight, 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 tight. Maybe you're holding on to an old failure or an old humiliation or some judgments you have about yourself. Anything like that feels heavy, 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 heavy. Just say heavy, 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 heavy until it's a little less true. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Good. Might not be totally clear, but if there's anything else you need to say, just go ahead and say it now. You're feeling something that's holding you back, blocking you or stopping you. Just go ahead and say it. You can switch to your forehead, your upper cheeks if you want, like this. Good. 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 Switch back to your hands or your upper shoulders whenever you're ready. So the last thing I want you to say, and that I want you to focus on, is a feeling of letting go. Just the opportunity to let go. Give yourself that permission. I'm just going to turn that up. Permission to let go. Letting go of this. Letting go of this. Letting go. Letting go. I'm allowing myself to let go of this old stuff, these old feelings, holding me back and holding me back, but I'm letting go. Letting go of this. Letting go of this. Letting go. Letting go. Letting go. Letting go. Letting go. Good. You should probably be feeling a little bit better right now. Maybe not perfect, and that's okay. We're not going for perfect. We're just going for better. So now I want you to choose an emotion, feeling, a state of mind that would support you in trying something new, in thinking of yourself as totally capable of doing this if you choose to. So what's one thing that you could believe or feel or think that would help? Just start there. How about something like, I'm willing to see myself succeed at this. I'm willing to be successful as a trainer. I'm willing to be successful. I might not know how, but I'm willing to let myself be successful. I'm willing to try this. I'm willing to give myself some grace in learning this. I'm willing to be patient with myself. I'm willing to be patient as I learn this. I'm willing to be patient with myself. I'm willing to see myself as completely capable of doing this. I'm willing to see myself as totally capable of doing this. I believe I could do this. I believe I could do this. I believe I can learn how to do this. I believe I can ask for help to do this. I believe that I have more to offer than I give myself credit for. I believe that I have something to share. I believe that some of my past mistakes or difficulties or blocks or fears might actually make me a better trainer. Is there any chance that I could see myself as a really great trainer because I have some of these things? Because some of these emotions that I've had in the past or struggles that I've overcome make me better, not worse, better, more relatable, better stories, more hope for people. Is there any chance that I am the best trainer that the people who need me will ever have because of what I've been through? Because I'm really honest about that, because I'm relatable or safe, because I can show them that anything is possible? Is there any chance that my imperfections are actually a very strong, powerful, useful, helpful, maybe even bonding kind of experience for people? Is there any chance that me not being perfect makes me a better teacher? Well, heck yeah, of course. As soon as you start exploring all the ways that you are great, your willingness to see yourself as great, your willingness to accept yourself and praise yourself and congratulate yourself and recognize yourself for your intention to serve, for your willingness and your humbleness and your courage, don't you feel better? Even just listening to me talk about this, I feel better. This is gone. I feel excited. I feel really empowered. I do, to be honest, share some really personal stuff in the training I do. Not excessive detail that could traumatize people who are already feeling vulnerable, but I share mistakes I've made. I share some like embarrassing moments and some, old thoughts I had that are now shifted, that are, kind of in the past. And I try to connect with people based on, not in coaching and not in trauma work, but in infinite possibilities work. Absolutely. I share some of the stuff that I used to believe and I used to think, even the embarrassing stuff. And I share vulnerably some of that stuff and what has shifted for me and some of the positive outcomes that have come out of that. Keep rubbing your hands. Rubbing is like the secret sauce, but I really want you to explore what is unique about you, not what's perfect about you, but what's unique about you, where you've come from, what you've done, lessons you've learned, transformations you have, overcoming, maybe even what got you to the infinite possibilities trainer in the beginning. What did it take to get you there? What did you have to believe? What did you have to shift? Get some of that stuff down in writing. Stories that you've, accumulated of, manifesting, law of attraction, healing, or, busting through blocks or achieving things that you never thought you could. And you can tell that story, or you can at least write those ideas down for yourself as reminders that you're exactly the type of person who needs to be reaching out and training and showing people that they are not limited by their past, that they are not stuck in their beliefs, that they are far more capable than they ever believed possible. And that regardless of where they've come from and what they've done, that they're far more than their humanness. They are connected to a very powerful universe, and they have a higher self, which is completely plugged in and channeled. There's so many great opportunities to really get them feeling that way and connected in that way. And you are the perfect person to create those experiences, to create those discoveries, to facilitate this like really, profound and fun and powerful digging into who they really are. Let them do the work, but you create the container that allows them to push beyond the boundaries that they have, to see themselves in a new light. And you can do that through art, through music, through movement, through, body language stuff, through havening, if you happen to be a certified, havening practitioner. There's so many ways to hack into that untapped potential and power that they have let, maybe be dormant for a long time. They've let reality and circumstance and stress and bills and, past pain and hurt dictate what they allow for the future. But you can help change that. You are exactly who they need to be, exactly how you are. You don't need to be anything different. You just need to choose who you're reaching out to and connect to them as the unique individual that they are, from the unique perspective you have. You already know what they're suffering with, and you already know what kind of outcome you can create. So communicate from the heart, connect in a way that they see and feel their full potential. That is your power. You have that innate power inside of you to bring that out of them. That is why you're on the planet, not just to do infinite possibilities, but we're on the planet to light each other up, to illuminate, to spot the, creator, the God, the universe within each of us. I'm sure there's Bible scriptures that, contradict that and highlight that. There are in every unique culture and, spirituality and practice, there are these hints and inklings that we are here to strengthen each other, to light each other up, to, create stronger connections and universal energy, that we are really one, and we can spot that divine, powerful oneness within each other. And so just show up from that place of wanting to light them up. You don't need to dump all of your knowledge on them. You need to light up their inner, desire to learn the most they can about themselves, to see themselves as limitless and exponential. And that is really powerful stuff. I hope you're still rubbing, because what we're doing as we're talking right now with this rubbing is we are creating a new neural pathway through the touch, delta brainwaves, and this kind of like visualizing, powerful, emotional, connected language, which honestly, I fully believe I've fully experienced in every possible way. And it's not because I have training, it's because I believe this to be true. And so I see it, and I have tons of evidence that it exists, because it's the programming that I've created. You need to create this programming as well if you don't have it, and you will be absolutely as sure as I am of what your true potential is in the sort of leading, coaching, guiding, transformational role that you can play in the lives of people you're meant to help. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. There's more. We could go on and on. I could do a whole series of these. I could go deeper if you want on any particular level, but you really are exactly who your audience needs. All right. So you don't have to serve everybody. You choose who you get to serve, and you can be selfish about that. You can pick people you really enjoy, people that you want to spend time with, people that light you up. And that's like, there is nobility in that. You do not have to go after like the hardest people to serve. You go after the people who are the most meaningful for you to serve. That is your niche. That is your ideal market. That is who you're on the planet to help. And that can expand later. Of course it can. But right now, you choose who you want to work with, not who needs you most. That's not good criteria. Trust me. All right. I have really enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much for your attention so far. Again, when things pop up for you, just take the time to do what I proposed you do in your session, which is put it down on paper, really question it. Is this 100% true for me? Is this 100% true all of the time for me? Is this true for everybody? Because for something to be absolutely true, it has to withstand harsh questioning. It can't be just kind of true. It's either true or it's not true. You can poke holes in it. You can start to break down any of that stuff that you've got going on for you that limits you, that restricts you, that makes you small, that makes you feel less than. You are not less than. You are absolutely exactly where you need to be. Anything that comes up that isn't aligned with that goes on paper, gets like put on trial, really. And you can add the havening touch, which is very, 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 very safe. And anything that shows up for you as an emotion that is not serving, that is not aligned with you being the trainer you want to be, that does not align with your goal to create transformation or help or whatever it is you want to do. If you have a feeling that shows up, that is your inner survival-based, fear-based, primal brain showing up saying, that's not safe, don't stand out, it's not okay, don't be a part of the pack, don't rise above, don't risk being excluded or judged or ostracized or pushed out or whatever. All of those things, all those real primal needs are going to try to override any big goal you have. And you have literally the secret sauce for overriding those. It is like a straight shot into the amygdala, and it is a diffuser of these fear-based places. And you get to go, okay, yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared. Scared, because when you pick your date, you might feel scared. Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I to do this? Who am I to do this? No one's going to listen to me. I don't know squat. I'm a nobody. And you might kick into any of that. That is okay. Do not try to fight the caveman with logic. Do not try to fight the caveman with a bigger stick. Just appease the inner caveman trying to keep you safe and go, I hear you. You're scared. Being a leader is scary. Whatever it is. Scared. Nervous. Exposed. Whatever it is that you're feeling, allow yourself to feel it while you're touching. It will start to shift. Each one will shift. And then you just ask, what else? And then you get to the, what do I want to be feeling? What do I want to be feeling, believing, thinking that's in line? Calm or focused or confident or safe or whatever it is. You will know what you need, and you say it until you start to feel it a little. Then you ask, what else would I like to be feeling that's aligned with my goal to be a trainer or my goal to, speak in front of a group? I need to be more present. I need to be more grounded. I want to be more dynamic. I want to be more eloquent, whatever. I don't care what it is for you. For me, it always goes from who am I to scared to, lack of, not knowing where to start, like not having the hows. So I just basically, I'm like, I don't know where to begin. Or I don't know yet. Whatever it is, I just allow myself. And then I move to, but if I did know, it would feel good. So if I did know, I'd feel confident. Okay, so how can I hack knowing by skipping ahead to the already feeling confident? So if I did know, I'd feel confident. So if I feel confident, if you reverse the formula, I should know. So confident, and you hack it. You actually just manufacture the emotion. It's just chemicals and electrical signals. That's all we're made of, is chemical electrical responses. You can hack these with havening techniques. I do it all the time. I do it all day long. This is all I do for a living, is help entrepreneurs, speakers, and writers hack this crap that gets in the way of them expressing their true essence and genius and ideas and beautiful inner parts. So you can do it too. You absolutely can. It's called self-havening. You just start touching and saying out loud what you're feeling that isn't serving you. Allow yourself. It will shift. Something else will come up. You let it shift. You choose what you want instead. It's really couldn't be easier. It's the hardest thing on earth to market because it sounds so damn easy, and it's so incredibly powerful and transformational and quick and permanent and amazing. And it's like, honestly, probably the single greatest, in my view, neuroscience discovery. And, I have 400 clients in, and I haven't had one trauma, fear, phobia that hasn't been shifted. It's like mind-boggling. So please use this. Get past whatever's getting in the way. Hack your block, hack your fear. Just go ahead. The doctors who figured out havening probably wouldn't like me calling it a hack. So it's not really a hack, it's a real scent. But in this context, you know, it's the quickest, most effective way through what you got to go through. So I want to leave you with that. Thank you so much for your time. I know this was way, way longer than I meant to. And I really wanted to make sure I answered as much as I could of the concerns that are coming through. Please reach out. I have a coupon code for IPPEs with the work I do. If you need one-on-one or you want one-on-one coaching for your business, your entrepreneurship, your training, your trauma, your anxiety, depression, whatever you're dealing with. I don't want to diminish it by, you know, listing it so quickly, but honestly, there is a lot that can be shifted using this powerful method, and a skilled practitioner. Please do not let your past dictate your future. You are so much more than what your caveman will allow you to have. And his code has not been updated in a couple million years. So he's just running the program that he was designed to. And it's survival. It's not thriving. It's not fulfilling. It's just survival. And you can have so much more. People need you to show up and be who you're meant to be for them. And shine your light. That is why you're here. I truly believe that. I see the light in you. I'm really, really proud of you already for doing the training, for showing up, for engaging with the material, for being willing to step up and be a leader for others. That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm happy to be on the planet at the same time as you. Again, I'm really, really thrilled, and I'm grateful and humbled that you've been here with me. My name is Angie Charlebois. Just reach out if there's anything I can do to help. Okay. And I'll send you the booking link if you need a one-on-one session. It's a great deal because I'm in Canada and the Canadian dollar is so much lower than the rest of the world. So that with the IPPE discount code, it's an absolute bargain to get rid of the stuff that's getting in your way. All right. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.